All right. Shalom, shalom. I'm going to do this lesson tonight, as I said earlier, and it is a lesson that I believe if we take it to heart, it will change the way we think about the law of the Most High Yah, His laws, His precepts, His the customs, His manners, all the things that we're to learn. I think it'll change the way we view the law of Yah pretty much forever. What the lesson that I'm teaching is actually a word study that's done by a friend of a friend. His name is Jeff Benner, and he does ancient word studies, and I've used him before as sort of a reference to get understanding of the ancient Hebrew, and I want to use him again tonight because how many of you all have heard that the Most High's laws have been done away with?
Oh, sucks.
Okay. How many of you all have ever heard that Yahushua basically took the 10 laws of Yah and condensed them down to just 2 laws? Raise your hand. He took the 10 and condensed them. That, you know, what you hear today from most people who study the Bible in organized religion, they will say things like, because they don't use his proper name, Yahoshua, a lot of them say Jesus, and they say, well, Jesus summed it all up, and he said, the greatest law, as long as you love is it. Love is the great commandment, and then they say, and then love your neighbor. Love Yah, love your neighbor, and that's all you got to do, and that's what it's all about. And so a lot of people think that as long as you have love, then you're fulfilling all the commandments, and you are fulfilling the laws of the Most High Yah. When in actuality, we're going to discover tonight that, first of all, we got to define what love is. That's interesting. And second of all, we need to really understand what the Pharisee meant when he asked the question and what Yahushua meant when he answered the question. How many of you all know that Yahushua was not a Greek from Europe? Raise your hand. All right. How many of y'all know that this Pharisee and this lawyer who asked him the question was not a Greek from Europe? He was a Pharisee. Yahushua is a Hebrew Israelite. Remember, we're talking about Hebrew Israelites talking to each other concerning the law of Yahuwah that was given to Hebrew Israelites. And so the question then has to the question that he's asked tonight is a question that we need to understand where he was coming from when he asked the question so that we can get a proper answer. So before we go any further, I was actually looking for I think I left my Bible on the counter, but that's all right. That's all right. I'm sure my wife will have one or somebody. Turn to Matthew chapter 22, verse 36. Matthew chapter 22, verse 36. All right. If you have it, I need somebody to volunteer to read it, and I want you to read it out loud. Mm-hmm.
Said unto him, thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy mind. This is the first and great commandment.
All right. So it says, who said unto him in verse 36?
Pharisee.
All right, a Pharisee. Okay, so for our lesson, good to see you. I forgot to give y'all a call back, man. Charge it to my head, not to my heart. But watch this. We have a Pharisee coming to Yeshua. And that's the thing I want you to really try to grasp. You're not talking about a person who does not know the laws of the Most High Yah. We're talking about a person who, by his very office amongst the children of Israel, were required to know the laws of Yahuwah. Okay? So this is not a question coming from ignorance. And he's not speaking like he doesn't know. And he's asking our rabbi, or he's asking our Hamashiach, who is our prophet and our rabbi at the same time. He's asking him a question to see if he understands what is, in the English it says, the greatest commandment in the law. Okay? And so what I want to do tonight is I want to evaluate the question as well as our Hamashiach's answer. Now, Master, which is the greatest commandment in the law? This question was posed by a Pharisee to Yahoshua, and before we can understand the answer, we must first understand the question. The teachings of Yeshua known to us today are in Greek, and all of us know that Greek is basically abstract, whereas Hebrew is concrete. Y'all know what I mean by abstract, right? It means, and if you follow my teachings, you know that abstract means that it means what it means to you, but it could mean a whole nother thing to me because it's an abstract term. Whereas in Hebrew, everything is brought to something more concrete. You know, something you can see, touch, feel, smell, experience, like that. All right, so we know that our Hamashiach is not a Greek. He doesn't think like a Greek. It is questionable whether he ever spoke a Greek word. I'm under the impression that he did not, because he is our Torah made flesh, and therefore he is only speaking the most pure and perfect language, which is Hebrew, or Ivrit, okay? But that our original writings, a lot of them have been, what, lost or destroyed, and yet we can read the Greek translations of the original Hebrew, and we can see the traces, we can see the Hebrew behind the Greek. Remember, the Greek is built on top of the Hebrew, not the other way around. It's very, very important, Zion, that you understand that. Also, understand this. There is a Hebrew copy of Matthew right now in the libraries in London. But you don't have to. Yeah. I'll just come. But unlike before, you had to save up a bunch of money and go fly all the way to the libraries there in England, I mean. Now all you have to do is go online. Go to Amazon, download the Gospel of Matthew in Hebrew, and you can have it on your computer, or you can have it printed out. So basically what I want you to know is the world knows, we just don't know, that the Bible was written in Hebrew and then later translated into Greek. So we don't do it the other way around. We don't look at the Hebrew as we don't look at the Greek as the foundation of what we call the New Testament, which I don't believe in that word New Testament, by the way. It's a true testament, that's for sure. But the testament is just renewed. And it was written in Hebrew. It was understood by Hebrews. It was written to the Hebrew people. And when you get to what you call the New Testament, it's really the renewed testament. The same testament that's given to Moshe, amen, is the same testament that is just renewed through our Hamashiach. Remember, he says, of his own mouth, he says, I come to do the will of my Father. He said, I only speak what I heard my Father say. And I can go on and on with that. I come to you in the volume of the book. He says, search the scriptures, for in them you think you have eternal life. And they are they which testify of me. So I can go on and on and on and on. It's just show you that Yeshua didn't come here with a new doctrine and a new teaching called Christianity. He came here to reestablish the covenant of his Father with his people, because it was the people who broke the covenant, which wasn't nothing new either. Justina, this ain't the first time our folk broke the covenant. They broke the covenant before the covenant was cool. They brought the covenant down the hill. It was still smoking. It still had steam coming off the rocks. And them Hebrews were down there kicking up all kind of, And so this renewing of the covenant is a pattern. And so when we look at Matthew, we're not looking at a new teaching. We're looking at the same teaching, but now being shared and taught, of course, through the greatest of all teachers, our holy Messiah, Yahoshua. So here we have the teachings of Yah, as I said, is in the record we have is in Greek, but remember it is in Hebrew. And Hebrew was used at that time, and it's still used to this very day. It is the language of the Hebrew Israelite people. Now, I want to examine then this line or this question from the Greek to the Hebrew. Since we have a Greek copy in front of you, well, you have an English copy which was taken from Greek. I want to take it from the English word. Let's look at the Greek word, and then let's go back to the original to see if we can come up with an explanation to this marvelous question and this marvelous answer we received in our holy manuscript. I want to give you some key words. Uncle Neville is at the copy in the outline, but you could just make your own notes for now. There's some key words that I want to break down for you from the Greek, or from the English to the Greek, and then from the Greek to the Hebrew. First of all, let's look at this key word, master. Okay, the first word we're going to look at is master. Didaskalos in Greek, we would spell it like this if you were using English letters. Didaskolos. And that word means teacher. So we already know that we're going to start off with, thank you. That word means teacher. So the word master, we're not talking about a slave, master, and slaves. We're talking about teacher.
Yeah. Some Bible translations said teacher.
Oh, okay. Some of y'all, okay, good. Some of the translations you all have actually the word teacher. It is taken from the word more in in Hebrew. So in English, we have the word, in your English translation, it had master. In Greek, it was didaskalos. And then, of course, in Hebrew, it's the word more. So the question is to the more. The second word is the word which. So I'll be on page 2 on your outline. So just flip on page 2 and look like right in the middle of the page where you see highlighted the word which. That word is poios in Greek. And of course, it's normally translated as what? And it is equivalent to the Hebrew word ma. The Hebrew word ma. So you already hear more, ma. Am I going too fast for you, Hebrews? All right, we still on page 2. Still on page 2. Just helping you see this from English to Greek back to the original Hebrew. And of course, the next 2 words is added into the English text. They're not present in the Greek because the Greek doesn't have those type of doesn't use those type of words. So it's added for clarification in English. But the next word here is great. All right, so we're taking a little word study tonight. So you see the word great, which in Greek is the word megas. We use that term all the time, even now. When we say mega, it means something is big. All right? Or large. And its Hebrew equivalent is the word gadolah. Gadolah. Now, what does that word sound like in Hebrew, even if you don't even know Hebrew? Oh, he said Godzilla. That's hilarious. Because it's funny. The Chinese, the Oriental languages do have a lot of Hebrew in them. But I was more thinking of the word Goliath. So you can see how those words in Hebrew. Remember I told you Hebrew is really easier than other languages. We just know English. That's why it's easy. But Hebrew is going to pretty much have a root word. And once you learn that root, all the things that spin off of the root will all have a common meaning. Okay, so just remember that as we study. Okay, so we saw it in Master, which great, Gadulah. And then the next word, still page 2, is the word, right, commandment. English is commandment. But the Greek word that's used here is the word into. Into. By the way, well, we'll get to that in a moment. That word commandment has different, like when you see commandment in English, as you read the Bible, that actual word will be translated in different ways. Just to let you know that. It won't always say commandment. But here it is the word into. And it is equivalent to the Hebrew word mitzvah. Okay? So you want to like highlight this so that your eyes can go to it. So is everybody clear about what your Moreh is doing tonight? I'm taking an English word and I'm telling you what it is in your New Testament Greek word. And then I'm showing you that they got it from a Hebrew word. Now, how they did it, they used several tools. One tool that you can use is the Septuagint, which can take you back and forth. And then there's other word study tools that you can get that will show you how they did this. That's not the purpose of my lesson tonight. But as long as you understand we're going English, Greek, and then getting the actual Hebrew word, because that's really what we're concerned about. I spent over 20-something years studying Greek, only to come to find out the Bible wasn't written in Greek, it was written in Hebrew. So now I'm like, ain't this ridiculous? I've been over here teaching, and the Greeks say, and had no idea that many of those Greek people hadn't stepped foot in the Holy Land or in our temple or had read our scrolls and yet knew nothing about our culture, knew nothing about our history, and yet tried to interpret our text and tell us what our text was saying. No, that's not what happened. Zion, listen, another culture cannot just come into another culture and then put their culture in as though everybody was Greek. Some of you all even think that the biblical characters were Greeks, but maybe one or two. But the hundreds and thousands of other characters, they were Hebrew Israelites and Hamites primarily. is what is littered throughout the text. There's a few Japheth, but not many. Why'd I do that? Oh, because I want to show you this word mitzvah. Okay? And of course, mitzvah is the laws. Okay? It represents the mitzvah is a set of commandments. Got that? All right. You probably have heard that word used, or you've heard the root of that word used in certain circles when you hear the word what? Man, exactly. And so a bar mitzvah is what? Then, knowing that it's the word commandment or law, what is bar?
The commandment to the son.
Yeah. For those of you who've been studying English, bar is son, right? And so therefore, when you have a bar mitzvah, it's because your son should know at a particular level certain commandments. It was never set up to be simply a party where all kind of wickedness take place. These bar mitzvahs nowadays, boy. But that's because the people doing them are not necessarily bloodline Hebrew Israelites. That's a holy time. But that's a whole nother story. But you see the word. Are you starting to see how these words are coming? All right. And then you have another in the. And in the Greek phrase in, which we would spell in English E-N, is equivalent to the Hebrew prefix ba. Like,
House in.
yeah, like the bet, like in or house. I was trying to think of one like say ba something like
Bereshit.
Bereshit.
In beginning.
Mm-hmm. So you see it. It means in. And then, so you have mitzvah, which means command, and then you have this word law, L-A-W. And oftentimes that word is translated in Hebrew nomos or nomos. Greek. Woo, thank you. In Greek, nomos. But it is equivalent to our Hebrew word Torah. Now, did you notice the word commandment there is translated mitzvah? And law is translated as Torah. You see that? So there's two different words. One for commandment in Torah. Another word for law is nomos. So right there you see a difference, right? Because what is Torah? You know, I've been telling y'all this for a long time. What is Torah? Torah is the law, but what? Yes. Torah is the instructions. It's the putting forth of the commandments or the mitzvah. It's the act of doing it. It's not just it's not just reading something, but it's learning and teaching. It's the idea of throwing out like an arrow or falling down like rain. That's Torah. Now, what is the subject of Torah? It's mitzvah. The subject of Torah, and this is funny, is Yah's Torah. The subject of the teachings of Yah is the teachings of Yah. And that's why I tell people, anytime somebody come to you and says something as ignorant as, we don't teach the Torah here, right? It's because they don't know that all teaching of the Holy Manuscript is Torah. So if you're not teaching Torah, you ain't teaching Scripture. I don't know what you're doing, but it ain't Scripture. Because remember, Torah begins in Genesis and does not end till the Revelation. Torah runs through the whole Bible. The foundation of Torah is in the first 5 books of the Bible, and we call those books the books of the law. And because it was so common that those books actually started being referred to as Torah. Because if you teach anything and you can't find it in them first 5 books, you need to stop teaching it because it is heretical. Let's review.
Is it correct to say that
Torah is the word of Yah being taught. Okay? And that's so yes, it is Yah's word. But Torah, write this down. Torah is not just the 10 commandments. Torah is the teaching of the whole book. It's like shooting an arrow. And the idea is to reach the heart of man, or what we would consider, because in Hebrew, the heart of man is the man's mind. And that's the whole point of Torah. So that you hear Rabbi Shaul say something like, let this mind be in you that was also in our Hamashiach, Yahoshua. The reason why he could say that is because he was saying, let the Torah be in you. Because the mind of our Hamashiach was a mind of Torah. Every time he opened his mouth, it was Torah. Okay, so flip to page 3. Now that we know the Hebrew equivalence to the Greek text, we can translate it into Hebrew. See how we did that? Now that we know what the Greek words were, we changed each Greek word back to its Hebrew word. Now we can read the verse in Hebrew. And here it is. More ma mitzvah. Gadola ba Torah. That was the actual question. And it simply means this. Here we go. Mora ma mitzvah gadola ba Torah. Right? Into English would be teacher. Right? First word. Second word, what? Third word, mitzvah. While this word is often translated as command or commandment, it also means precept. And what is a precept? A precept is a rule or principle prescribing a particular course of action or conduct. As a matter of fact, in my notes, I also wrote down, let me see if I can do this while I'm recording. I hope I can. In my notes, I put down another verse. Man, I need to get it. I need you to get for me Isaiah chapter, I think it's chapter 7. Y'all look this up for me if you got a smartphone, where he says that we need to know line upon line, precept upon precept. I need you to get that. It was in my notes, and right now I just can't call the address. Here a little, there a little. All right, so it's very, very important we get that verse. It's got to go online because this is going out to the world and on video, and I want to make sure that that's a part of this study. Trying to see if this thing. Did you get it?
Is it Isaiah 20:18?
Read it. It's in there twice, so
Isaiah, it's not 7?
go ahead, read that one.
Oh, this one, 28, it says, for it is do this, do that, a rule for this, a rule for that, a little here, a little there.
Right, but I need King James because it sounds better.
Okay. And then
Who has that?
for 28:10 it says,
28:10.
where it says, for precept must be upon precept.
There it is. For precept. There we go. Watch this.
Upon precept, line upon line.
Well, hold on. For precept must be. Didn't he say that? Upon precept. Then what did he say?
It says precept upon precept, line upon line.
Then line upon line. Then
Here a little and there a little.
here a little and there a little. What is he teaching us in this verse? That is Isaiah 28:10. What is he teaching us? He's teaching us that the way you study Torah is you've got to study the precepts. And the precepts are equivalent to our commandments. Come on, y'all, talk back to your moray. How are you going to teach precepts without teaching commandments? And how are you going to teach commandments without teaching precepts? So if you want to learn the Bible, you start your education in the law or in the commandments of the Most High with his precepts. Now, what is a precept? It's a principle that describes a particular, watch this now, course of action. Why do I do what I do? Why should we? What is the principle behind the decisions that I'm making and the things that I'm doing? Now you already see a nuance here. That this guy is not necessarily asking him about a particular law as much as he wants to know what is the precepts or the particular course of action that the laws of Yah are trying to teach us to do. Y'all see it? He's not talking about give me one that's important and one that's not important and one that's, remember I told you, great and one that's least. Remember I was trying to show you that the idea of great and least in our Greek mind is, oh, this one's the best one. And therefore, let's keep this one, but we don't have to keep knowing the other one. That's what the Christians and the other religionists will tell you. As long as you love God and love your neighbor. And you say, but what are the principles behind love? Love. Like, man. So what's the precepts? Then they look at you, they just glass over. Like all of a sudden, you just start speaking in Hebrew to them. They just like, I don't know what you're talking about. Because listen, the Greek mind is always in abstract. Whereas the writers of the manuscript are always concrete. So Isaiah says, this is how you get it. This is how you learn, and this is how you live. Precept upon precept upon precept, which is translated commandment in English, upon commandment upon commandment. You know where? You know that's a black idiom. That's what we call an African American or black idioms. You know that an idiom is something that we say amongst ourselves that other people don't say. Now, before we found out we were Hebrews, we thought that was just a black thing. When somebody came to you and said, "You in trouble on top of trouble." Y'all never heard old people say that? Ooh, boy. You about to get a whooping on top of a whooping. Y'all ever hear that before? You know what they... Listen, our folk have been using these same idioms forever. This is precept on top of precept on top of precept. Which is to say this. Watch this. Now here's the point. Here's my point. You start with the first one. In the beginning, Yah created the heaven and the earth. Right? We know that. We know it in Hebrew already, but just for English watchers, and this goes all around the world. Y'all know that the very first precept we're supposed to catch is Yah. Is Yah and not us. He's the creator. We're creation. He's the boss. He's the father. We're the children. Listen, most people have not even caught that concept yet. So how are you going to go beyond that to trying to do anything else in the text? First, he has to be who he is. Now watch this. We see him as what? A maker, a sustainer. You start seeing all these principles. Light gets divided from darkness, right? Earth is divided from the seas. The boundaries are given to the oceans and stuff like that. We know that the plants and stuff. And so you start seeing provisions. Watch this. In the beginning, you're starting to see diet laws laid down. Am I in the room by myself? No, y'all getting it, right? You're starting to see that we're doing what now? Precept starts upon precept. Then, once you start realizing that all of this teaching, not just Exodus chapter 20, but beginning in Genesis chapter 1, as he lays down these precepts, and you start hearing his voice and his commandments come forth as he talks, then you start putting these precepts together. How do you do it? Line upon line. Now, what to make a Hebrew want to tell somebody to start studying the Bible in the book of John? When you what precept have you learned? What line have you learned? What have you studied that enables you to open a book like the Gospel of John to start your study? And since the Most High knew that some European was going to be in control of teaching you how to study the Bible, he put something in John to get us to the right place. So they all said, grab John. And he knew that they were going to tell you to grab John. So what he put in John was in the beginning. He's trying to tell the Hebrew, don't start here. I don't care what they tell you. This ain't where you start studying about me. When you want to study about me, the place you start is in the talkback. Precept upon, line upon. And as you do that, you're going to pick up stuff here and there. And every time you grab something, you hold it. Here a little. Y'all read it. The rules, Zion, have not changed. So what is this Pharisee asking? Right here, he says, what mitzvah, which the word commandment is used there, is really precept. What principle prescribing a particular course of action or conduct? Mitzvah is better translated as I mentioned, precept. We gave you the verse that shows you a word for precept, and it's easy for you now to just go back to Isaiah and then do your Hebrew word study on precept. Okay, but the idea is the idea of a precept is a general rule that has control over your life. You hear people say it all the time. I live my life by this one thing. And then they'll tell you what it is. You know, get them before they get me. So that becomes their life's precept or their principle. You get that? Some people's life principle is, he who dies with the most toys win. And so they spend their whole life, you get it, living by that particular mitzvah, that particular rule of life. Get all you can, while you can, put it in a can, then sit on your can. That's a rule of life. Everybody trying to do that. But no, we have a mitzvah. We have a rule. We have a general rule that's given to us that should be our life. And how we get that? It's Torah. Listen to this. The word to have control over, to rule, a general who commands an army. What is the general, or who is the general that's commanding your life? You get it? Some of us will have to answer that with a weird way. Because some of us letting other things control our lives and tell us what to do other than Torah. Matter of fact, that's the one thing that I don't want to use the word Christianity, but I'll just use the word Christendom or religion teaches, is that nobody has a right to actually come and tell me what to do. I have the ability to interpret the text how I want to interpret it to me. And you have a right to interpret it your way. And therefore, we can have 41,000 denominations all claiming to be right. When the reality is, there's only one rule for the Hebrew Israelite. Torah. It guides our lives. It guides our diet. It guides our dress. It guides our speech. It guides our behavior toward one another. It guards our behavior toward the temple. It guards our behavior toward the Most High Yah. It's all Torah. And who gave us the Torah? Who gave us Torah? Yeah. So listen to me, you Hebrews. Stop letting people tell you Moses gave you the law. The law of Moses became an idiom. Again, that phrase became an idiom among the Hebrews. Whenever somebody said the law of Moses, they knew they were talking about the first 5 books. They knew they were talking about the laws that Moses delivered to the people from Yah. Moses himself confessed. If you read the first 5 books, he confessed himself. Number 1, Yah, these ain't my people. These your people. Y'all ever read that? He said, these your people. And then he told the people, I ain't told you nothing. Everything that I'm telling you, y'all read it, right? He said, Yah told me to tell you such and such. Because every now and then they would try to put it on Moses. Who was our brother, by the way, our cousin from the tribe of Levi. Most of us from the tribe of Yehuda. So he's our cousin. And they tried to blame our cousin on everything. And he kept telling them the same thing. No, y'all have offended the Most High Yah. Am I right? So what I want you to see is when you see them say the law of Moses, they're not believing that Moses actually made up some laws and gave it to the people. They're just simply referring to him as the one who delivered the laws of Yah to them. Very important.
Right before he gave the laws, I was reading, I came across the word oracles. Oracles. The word oracles means what you're saying. These are the things that Moshe got from Yah. They were spoken by him. That word means it's just like the word borrow. It's only him. He can only create out of nothing.
Yes.
Oracles. He's the one that gave the law.
When we hold our Bible, whether we hold it on a smartphone, an iPad, a computer, or the literal pages, pen and ink. Ink and page. No matter how we're holding, we need to understand that we are holding something in our hand that has been given to us as a gift from the Creator. In the same way as he gave us air to breathe, water to drink, clothes to wear, he gave us Torah to live. And just like in order for you to benefit from the air, you got to breathe in. Yo, come on, talk back. And to eat, I don't care how good the food is, if you want to get the nutrients from the fruits and the vegetables, you got to eat it. You got to take it in. To get the warmth from the clothes, you got to put it on. And so when you start really studying Torah, you start realizing Torah becomes what? My air, the air that I breathe. Torah becomes the water I drink. Torah is the food I eat. Torah is the clothes I wear, put on, Hamashiach, which is the word made flesh. I can go on and on and on. You see these things all through the Bible. Okay. Now, here's the word Gadolah, and it's the word great. Very interesting Hebrew word. And then ba, which is a prefix, which means in or within. And then, of course, Torah. And this word is frequently translated as law, that it means teachings, which I've already kind of driven that point home. And note that the sentence begins with what? More, which means teacher, and ends with Torah, meaning teachings. So it starts off with more, Torah, teacher, teachings. Doesn't it make more sense now? First of all, English said master. That might throw you off right there. We found out that the word actually means in Hebrew, teacher. Then the last word was law, and we find out that that word is actually Torah, which means teaching. So now listen again to it from the Hebrew perspective. Teacher. What precept? What is the aim or the goal? What is the great aim, the great end that is within Torah? What is this whole Torah, living Torah, reading Torah, following Torah, walking the precepts? What is the end game? So here it is, teacher. What is the great principle, what is the great precept within Torah? This is not a question about which law in Torah is the best law. This question is about what is this all about? What is Torah trying to get us to? Remember, when you have a Greek mind, you're always trying to get away from doing something. His thing is, I just want to know what doing this is leading to. So the question posed to Yeshua is, what is the summary of all Torah? Now let us look at the following verse from the Hebraic perspective using the same methods as we used before, and I'm going to go faster. Teacher, what is the great precept within Torah? Yeshua said unto him, you shall love Yahuwah with all your heart and with all your being and with all your belongings. This is the what? And what? Great precept. This is why you have Torah. To teach you or to help you or to guide you to loving Yah with all your heart, all your being, and with everything you have. That's the goal of Torah. That's the aim of the Torah. It's not love him and get rid of Torah. It's keeping Torah is how you love him. He says, and another is like it. You shall love your companions as yourself. Within these two principles hang all of the Tanakh. And we all know that we're talking about what y'all call the Old Testament. So, as I said before, this one lesson, if you grab it, will change your life concerning your attitude toward Yah's Torah. You cannot pick and choose through the precepts of Yah in order to love him. If you love him, you have to keep all of his commandments and his precepts. Because in the Hebrew mind, love is action. Right. Love is doing. He who says, Miguel, get that verse for me. I need script and verse. I need chapter and verse. I need that scripture. He who says he loves Yah and keepeth not his commandment. I'm trying to show you. I know y'all don't want to hear it. Is a liar. Period. You're a liar. The kid said, liar, liar.
Pants on fire.
Pants on fire. Now, if you end up in the lake with the snake, your pants are going to be on fire because it's a lake of fire. You cannot claim to love Yah and ignore his principles, his precepts, his lines, his precept upon precept, line upon line, grabbing here a little and there a little. You can't do it. It's impossible. Torah does not teach you can. Torah teaches that no, the way you love Yah is continually studying from the beginning the precepts and the lines and the commandments. 1 John chapter 4, verse 20, you Hebrews. Read it for me because I don't want nobody to think we're making up stuff out here in Pinedale.
If a man say, I love Elohim,
If a man says, I love our Elohim, our Most High.
and hateth his brother, he is a liar.
No, that's not the one I want. I want if you, Read that one.
He that saith, I know him, and keepeth not his commandments,
Is a what?
is a liar. His truth is not in it.
It's the Bible, y'all.
That's what it says.
Anybody talking about I'm not keeping his commandments, you're a liar. If you say you know him and you don't keep the commandments, how come? You can't know him outside his commandments. You can't know him outside of his precepts, his principles. That's like somebody claiming to know my father because they've seen him before. And I said, do you really know my dad? Oh, man, we tight. Does he allow men to wear hats in the house? I don't know. Negro, get out my face. You don't know my dad. Because my dad got this thing to wear. I'm talking about my physical father. When you walk in his house, you got to move your hat in honor of him. That's just his thing. And everybody knows it. So if you tell me you don't understand that one little precept about my father, I know you don't know my dad. So everything else you say after that point, I'm not even going to talk to you. You don't know my dad. You might have seen him. You might have heard about him, but you really don't know him because everybody who knows him knows that particular little commandment, which ain't really that big of a deal. But you don't know him. And many people don't know our Hamashiach. They don't know our Heavenly Father. Why? Because they don't know any of his precepts. His law.
Yeah, you know, the Hebrew starts with defining with verbs using this defined thing. Greek starts with using a noun to define something.
Did y'all hear that? In Greek, most of the time you're going to start off with a noun or an adjective to describe something. Whereas in Hebrew, you're going to always start off with a verb. So you're going to either get a description of something in how it looks or whatever in the Greek mind. But in Hebrew, what you're going to get first is its function. Always. What does it do?
So in Greek, love is a noun, which is a feeling. So that's why anybody can say, I love something.
Right.
They're talking about a feeling.
But if you want to, ahava, you know, I'm from the country, I'm still learning. If you want to do that, that is about action. And if you say you ahava abaya, then he told you the action to do. He said, keep my commandment. The whole point of Torah is to get us to love him and to love each other the way he says to do it, not the way we want to do it. Tell these people stop coming to you with stupid things like, I love him in my own way. Hebrew, don't nobody care about your own way. Your way could be leading you straight to hell. Talk about your way. Who cares about your way? They put your way on me. You love according to the way he laid it out. Anybody don't understand? I mean, does anybody now have a better understanding of this question that this Pharisee was asking the Messiah? He was not asking which one of these laws is the highest law. No, he wants to know what is the great end of this whole thing. Because everybody knew you had to keep all the laws. You know, that's a recent thing when you think you can, that the Bible teaches some of the laws you can keep and some of the ones you can break. That's recent. Nobody in Yahoshua's day believed that some laws you could keep and some of them you could break. That's new, Zion. No, you keep them all, which means you guard them all. You learn them. You put them in your heart. You learn what to do positive. If you do something negative, you go into the law to find out how to fix the negative that you just did. In other words, the law is for you when you're right, and the law is for you when you're wrong. You get that? Let me help you. Most of us only know about 5 laws anyway in this country, and most of them all have to do with driving. 700,000. We're closing in on 800,000 laws in California. Do you see me say 100,000? We're closing in on 800,000 laws. The nation has 1 million laws. And you walk around talking about, I'm a law-abiding citizen. How do you know? How do you even know? Are you a criminal? Right. Now think about this question I'm putting out. Are y'all criminals? Felons? See, you weren't like, wait a minute. So why when the police pull you over, why when the police pull you over or randomly sees you and they ask something, you say, I haven't done nothing. You don't know what you've done. So really what you mean is, when you say, I'm a law-abiding citizen, you say, what you really mean is, I am not on purpose practicing lawlessness because I'm trying to be obedient to the laws I know. That's what you're really saying. In other words, you're not just on purpose breaking the laws of California, even the ones you don't know. But the strange thing about what's going on in Christendom today and churchianity and whatever else today is people will read one of you. Law. Y'all only got 613, by the way. But there's precepts and principles that go with those. But you get my point? We got folk who say, I'm breaking this one on purpose. And this one because it don't apply. It don't apply. It's done away. Okay, you can tell that to me. You might tell it to Carl. You might tell that to L Voice, but how you going to tell that to Yah? How you going to tell it to the Hamashiach who died as the Word made flesh? Tell him, don't tell me, tell him that you changed his law because you didn't like it. Tell him he didn't know what he was doing when he gave you that law. Don't talk to me about it. I'm just a little lowly moray eking out a small existence, you know, here in a little town called Pinedale. That's all I'm doing. I'm not the one you got to prove it to. You're going to have to face the lawgiver one day. I got to at least, Jamie, I promise, I got to at least be able to say, I tried to keep them all. No, in that day. I got to at least be able to say, I did my best to never trample not one of these precepts, laws, commandments underfoot. Break them like pottery. No. Every one I'm trying to keep, because I know that that's the way you require me to love you. Any questions? Shalom.